ECU?
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Watch the show live on Facebook
And at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday edition of the show. Pirates getting set to head to San Antonio for another big conference game. Let's visit now with Maceo Donald. He was in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, ECU sideline reporter. And Maceo, Hoist the Colors. A little technical difficulties to start the show.
I am so sorry. I saw your face, so I just clicked on your face, and I was not even paying attention.
Hey, we were just teasing the
Maceo interview.
I was standing by waiting to talk. I can't talk because I'm already talking.
Yeah, the crazy thing is I turned the mic on. I was like, okay, it's going good, and yeah,
that was hilarious.
That was funny. I'm sorry. I really am.
All good. That is the voice of Philip Pilkington. I'm Stephen Igo. We are live on the air on a Thursday. We're going to get to Maceo Donald here in our next segment, as we did record that interview yesterday, and always good to talk with Maceo. We'll preview UTSA, East Carolina. We are 2 days out from Pirates heading to the Alamo Dome for a crucial conference game. ECU trying to stay alive for a conference title, and UTSA trying to get bowl eligibility secure. They're at 5 wins, and they have a 24-game conference home winning streak dating back to their time in Conference USA. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, X. You got a question, comment, concern, drop it there in the chat. We'll get to it over the next hour. We're also getting an inside look behind enemy lines with the Roadrunners. Greg Luca is going to join us around 12:30. He covers UTSA for the San Antonio Express. So looking forward to getting a UTSA angle. Also catch up with Maceo in our next segment. All right, segment one. We're going to talk about the formula to victory here on this Thursday, and specifically how ECU can become the first team to take out UTSA in conference play in American history on their home field. As crazy as that is to say. Now, Kenny Curlin's in the chat. He's asking what teams have UTSA beat at home and the scores this season. I'll pull that up here in a second. As I mentioned before, it's not like they're unbeatable at home. They lost to Texas State 43-36 earlier this season. They lost to Army when Army was not an American team in 2023 at home when UTSA was really good. But this season alone, the Roadrunners played Texas State in their only home FBS non-conference game. They lost 43-36. They played Incarnate Word, won that game 48-20. Played Rice, won that game 61-13, and played Tulane, won that game 48-26. The biggest concern for me, home versus road, is UTSA's offense. Now, all of their splits are very dramatic, but their offense, and specifically Owen McCown, he has not thrown an interception at home, 13 touchdowns against 0 picks. He gets in a rhythm at home. Inside the dome, I guess he's comfortable in room temperature conditions with no wind, and he gets into a rhythm. They roll. It's also artificial turf, so they're comfortable playing on that. And basically, once he gets into a rhythm at home, their offense is unstoppable. So my number one formula to victory is ECU's offense is going to have to show up, because as good as UTSA's offense is at home and even as good as ECU's defense is, Philip, I'm expecting the Roadrunners to score points here, and I think ECU is just going to have to keep up for much of this game.
Yeah, I think so. Look, this is a team that they've even scored in some of their road losses. The weird thing is they haven't really scored in their road wins, which has kind of been the weird thing, right? But even in the road losses, they have scored. Like you said, the splits are different. They turn the ball over. They cough it up. That's part of the reason I think they're allowing so many points on the road is some of those turnovers. But they score early and they score often. And they can score with explosive plays in this dome. Yes, they can, drive down the field. But when you look at some of these point totals, so some of the reason they're so high, and especially if you look at that Tulane game, and they were up like 28-0 in the first quarter. They scored very fast. They scored once on defense. in that game. Actually, I want to say maybe they actually scored twice on defense. I want to say maybe they took the first time they got the ball, they were up 14-0, and then they hit a couple explosive plays right off of that. So it's going to be, not that you go out there and prevent defense, but you can't let anything over your head early, because the minute their offense gets going, it stays going.
So I think you're getting the USF game they played at USF. They gave up 2 defensive touchdowns, UTSA. But I do know against Tulane, they scored early, and they forced 4 turnovers in that game, which obviously exasperated the Tulane issues on the road to get some explosive plays, and then Tulane got behind and started pressing. They actually made a quarterback change in that game and benched Retzloff at one point, which is how bad it went. Of course, Sarah in the chat says how ECU is listed as a 2.5-point favorite against UTSA. How dangerous is this game? I mean, it's extremely dangerous. This is we said it throughout the week, and we said it yesterday. This is the toughest game, in my opinion, that any contender has left outside of maybe Navy at Memphis. And I think, honestly, I'd rather almost play Memphis with a banged-up quarterback on the road than UTSA in the Alamo Dome, but you could argue that both ways. So this is a tough game. The ECU, it's not even about the tiebreaker scenarios right now. It's can they find a way to win this game, do something no American team has done, and come up with a road win at UTSA in conference play. One of the things that stands out to me as well about UTSA is if there is a weakness offensively, they're really good at quarterback. They're really good at running back. They've got Robert Henry, 1,000-yard rusher, and Will Henderson can absolutely fly. They're number 2. He scares the crap out of me. And they've got good receivers and good tight ends. Their offensive line is at times a problem. Now, against Tulane, they had their highest graded pass pro game of the year. Owen McCown in that game, Philip, 31 of 33. Elite stuff, just elite stuff. But you look at the entirety of the season, their offensive line is vulnerable. Their left tackle grades out below average in terms of pass protection. We know ECU's defensive front is good. We know they can cause havoc. Something else that really stands out to me as I look at Pro Football Focus's numbers, Owen McCown, when not blitzed, on a scale of 0 to 100 PFF grade, 88.8 PFF grade when not being blitzed. 9 touchdowns, no picks. When he is blitzed, which is 40% of the time, subpar PFF grade, 55.3 PFF grade, 6 picks, 11 touchdowns. Now, he has hit some explosives here. He has also had 8 turnover-worthy plays compared to 1 big-time throw when blitzed. When he has not been blitzed, 9 big-time throws to 5 turnover-worthy plays. If he has a clean pocket, he's going to do damage. Now, there's a balance to this because if you read Bobby Harward's write-up, they get the ball out quick. So if you bring too much pressure and they throw some screens, you can get burnt. So you're going to have to take some chances here, but you also cannot let him just sit back in the pocket or he's going to pick you apart.
Yeah, that's the thing is where do you find the balance? I think that comes down to the question. You're just going to have to be part of your game, but you can't become predictable. And when you become predictable, he's just going to throw the ball to wherever the blitzer came from. They're going to call a lot of little short, quick plays, a lot of quick hitters. He can run a West Coast style offense. He does have that in his arsenal, and he's just going to dink and dunk you all the way down the field. So it's going to be about disguising those blitz, not being predictable, not always bringing the same guy in the same down and distance situations. And really it's going to, I think, be a chess match between Josh Aldridge and I don't know, who calls the plays for them? Is it Jeff Traylor? Is it their OC? Whoever calls the plays.
I believe they're OC.
Yeah, their OC throughout this game. And I think really that's where this football game is going to be won and lost and decided is going to be on when UTSA has the football. I see the Pirates scoring anywhere from 24 to 31 in this game. And it's just going to be whether or not we can hold them to less than we score. Because I think our ceiling is about what is our floor as well kind of thing in this one. I just don't see ECU having a phenomenal day or a poor day offensively.
Yeah, their defense is fairly vulnerable, and but they haven't been, like you said, they haven't been giving up like 60 points in any game or something crazy. Like even A&M was held to 48. So, I just expect a pretty high possession game with the tempo both these teams plays, but also I expect both teams to move the ball, and it may come down to the red zone, who executes in the red zone as well. All right, some comments here before we get a break in. Johnny Robertson says, would they win UTSA? Coach Harrell would be the first Pirate to win 5 consecutive American Conference games. There have been 3 4-game winning streaks, twice under Blake and once in 2021, which, of course, would have been Mike Houston. Kenny says, that would tell me the best defense they have played was Tulane. Didn't Tulane have turnovers in that game? He's talking about their home opponents. Yeah, Tulane by far the really only good team, although Rice is solid, and they just beat the wheel out of them 61-13. But, yeah, Tulane, 4 turnovers compared to 0 UTSA turnovers. And UTSA has not really turned the ball over at home this year. So you have that to consider as well. And Kenny says, I asked this on another podcast last night, isn't time to believe that this defense can mostly shut down their offense? I mean, I believe in the ECU defense. I just think UTSA is probably, I'm trying to think back on all the teams ECU's played this year, like probably has the best complement of skill position players at every position. Memphis right up there as well. We saw them move the ball. NC State, when they were healthy, with Smothers and Joe Lee and their receivers up there too. BYU, they've got Chase Roberts at receiver, a good running back. But I feel like UTSA may have the most complete offense outside of the O-line, which ECU is going to have to win at the point of attack, in my opinion, to slow down this defense. Or slow down this offense, excuse me, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, which is possible. But as they proved against Tulane, they can also step up to the occasion. Robert Matthews wants us to go over the bowl tie-ins and scenarios and tiebreakers. We'll try to do that segment 4, Robert. We got a couple guests to get to, Maceo Donald and then Greg Luca from the San Antonio Express. So let's go ahead and get a break in. We will come back. We'll visit with Maceo Donald. Then we'll have Greg. And then we'll have your tiebreakers at the end of the show if we have time. This is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Oh, hey,
Welcome back.
you got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday edition of the show. Pirates getting set to head to San Antonio for another big conference game. Let's visit now with Maceo Donald. He was in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, ECU sideline reporter. And Maceo, well, I tell you what, we'll talk ECU in a minute. First off, just want to know, what was your reaction to Sunday's result? Broncos 22, Chiefs 19. What happened to your boys?
Man, just we didn't execute, man. We just didn't execute when we needed to. Defense wasn't bad. It was just some key third downs, especially that last drive of Broncos. It was like 2 third downs they got. One of them was like 3rd and long, I think, also. So just some like key plays. Like last year, we were making all the right plays at the right times. This year, we just can't seem to do that. But still a while to go. Obviously happy for J-Mac. He had a really, really good game. 2 sacks and a pick. He almost returned it for a touchdown as well. So, man, just happy for him to see him ball, but not happy for my Chiefs.
Dude, it's crazy. Obviously, when J-Mac was making those plays, one of the things I went back to, Maceo, was, you guys' conversation. And, like, obviously any player is going to be confident, but, you can just see his confidence on the field, man. And it's – I don't know. It's pretty special to watch because obviously, like, he's not the biggest. He's definitely not the fastest DB, right. But he's just so intelligent and he believes in himself, and he's just a dog at the end of the day. Like, he is so competitive, such a good football player. I mean, just how fun is it to watch him succeed the way he is right now?
Man, it's super fun. And J-Mac, he's just a good dude. Like, he's, some guys are super cocky or just, guys that you don't want to root for, but J-Mac is a guy that you just really want to root for and just see him do his thing out there. Just a humble guy, normal, like you said, doubted, undersized. He might not be the first person that you would think that would be starting for the top seed basically in the AFC right now. So it's just really fun to see him out there. And he was super confident when I talked to him on, was that not senior day? No, that was homecoming when he was back at ECU for the game. So he was ready to go in their bye week, but man, it's just crazy to see him out there, and it's just really fun seeing some of your former teammates go out there and having a chance at the next level.
So he obviously had the pick and the 2 sacks. Did you see him? I don't know if you watched every play, but there was a play Travis Kelce caught a pass.
Got into it with him.
Yeah, he got in his face, man.
Yeah.
I got so fired up. Like, I get fired up watching the Broncos, but when I saw J-Mac just get in Travis Kelce's face, that might be the most hyped I got all game, honestly. I loved it.
Yeah, I was hyped too, but I wasn't even necessarily cheering for him. But like, it's just fun to see your guys out there because at least for me as kids and just growing up and watching pros and just wanting to be there, and then it's like a guy that you were, with, a couple months ago, basically. Like I was with him a few months before he ended up being out on the field with the Broncos. So it's just crazy. It puts things in perspective, and for a guy like me from a small area, for the kids that have dreams, even though they're small areas, like it's definitely possible. It's just, I was literally with this guy a couple weeks ago in the car in my 2021 Nissan Sentra, like, and he was just out there on at 4:30 playing football against Travis Kelce and picked off Patrick Mahomes. So it's just crazy to put all that in perspective. And those guys work super hard for it, but if you just do what you're supposed to, you have a little luck, man. You could make your dreams, man. You can make it happen.
It's crazy. Broncos right now, best record in the AFC, along with the Patriots. Chiefs on the outside looking in with the playoffs, but as you mentioned, 6 games left to go, or 7, I believe, and we'll get that rematch on Christmas Day between the Broncos and the Chiefs. So looking forward to that.
Yep.
Then, all right, ECU football. Man, what a dramatic victory inside Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. Pirates win it 31-27. Just what was it like to be on the field and witness that one, Maceo?
Man, it was super fun just seeing everybody there, and the fans were hype. I don't know what exactly it was about just this game, because it wasn't like Memphis is a really good opponent. Like we beat them a lot, in the past, at least when I was there. It wasn't like they were a team that we just never were able to beat or just get over the hump. Obviously a really good program that have been ranked this season, but I think this time for Pirate football is just like different than any other. I think it's just so loose. Everybody's excited. They just see the opportunity ahead of them, and they were able to come through with a big win. And the fans stormed the crowd, which was fun. Tore down the goalpost. I got a good up and close look at that video of that, and it was just, I don't know what it was. It was just something in the air on Saturday night, man.
And as somebody who grew up in Greenville, went to games, for me, like it was just kind of a return, to relevancy, to like, I don't know, like most games when I grew up, when ECU was rolling, like when I first started Hoist the Colors specifically, like it had that feel in every game. And look, ECU played really exciting football then. They won a lot of games. Yeah. I don't know, like, and a lot of people complain, why are we rushing the field versus Memphis? I think it was just like people wanted to get their emotions out for a big moment because you guys had some big wins at ECU, specifically that stretch where y'all beat UCF, obviously BYU on the road, Memphis at home. But like for this to happen in November, you mentioned Blake, the fun he's brought to the program. I don't know. I just feel like it was kind of cathartic, like everybody kind of releasing emotions at the end of the game. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right about that. There's always just times if we're ECU fans, and so we pay attention to that. So there's just times in like the program's history where I feel like you could just remember, if you really follow the team from over the years, there's just times where you can remember just the tide changing. It was like, Coach Houston was there, and before we even got to those two bowl seasons under Coach Houston, like we were talking about last week, that last senior day that we won before this one against SMU, we had nothing to play for at all. We just were, I think it was COVID year. We had maybe 4 or 5 wins. SMU was like a 7 or 8 win team that year, and we just killed them at home for the last game, senior day. And it was just everybody, if you ask anybody on that team, it was the kind of turning of the tide, just kind of one of those things that propelled you into the next season, and eventually had those 2 seasons following that where we were bowl eligible and won a bowl game. So I think you ask a person about that class just what that game meant. It meant so much. And you think about that the other night, it was just kind of similar. It's just something in the air where you're just hype. I don't know if you remember that SMU game. Guys were just like dancing on the sideline for like a minute. I don't know if you remember that as a video of it. Guys just dancing, playing around, whatever. It's just that loose, just feeling something in the air where you just feel like, you're in control. It's just a moment that you don't want to miss. So those two kind of situations of that SMU game back in 2020, I believe, and this game have so many similarities to it.
Maceo Donald, sideline reporter with ECU, former ECU football player with us. Obviously, the big difference, Maceo, was you guys had more fans this Saturday. And were you tempted to go tarps off, shirt off on the sideline at any point during the game?
Absolutely not. I told them on the broadcast, Kevin and Jim and David, they were asking, was I going to get over there? I was like, I know something about it's not old, but it's pneumonia, and I do not want it. But it looked fun over there. I didn't know the trend until Saturday. It started happening. Someone mentioned it to me on the sideline that it was a trend. But they definitely hyped it up. They definitely hyped it up. I wish they could just be like that in the Boneyard every week. Like if I had one critique, can you just do that in the Boneyard every single game?
That's the one thing. Like I feel like I'm disappointed that we don't have another home game. Now there is an outside chance ECU could host a conference championship game depending on what happens, but a lot has to go right. But like I feel like if there was another home game, that would 100% happen. Now I'm kind of worried about like ECU doesn't have another home game until next year's App State game in week 2. I just hope the students remember. It's going to take at least a group of students to start that thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that everybody's forgetting, like we're going to have Caden Hauser back next year, which is a pretty big deal to have a quarterback for basically 3 seasons. So there's still a lot to root for. I know we had like 26 or 27 seniors walk on Saturday, but we still have the most important 2 positions, Coach Harrell and Caden Hauser, returning. So I think it's still up for us even next season. I know there's a lot of business that we want to handle this year, and just praying that everything goes right for us and everything wrong for North Texas and Tulane. So I still think it's a good look for next season. We still should have that energy. I don't see why not. We still have the pieces in place, but this year, man, I don't know what has to happen. I think those teams maybe have to go over these last 2 weeks for us to get in and for us to host the conference championship.
Yeah, basically ECU would have to win out to host. ECU would have to win and have Navy lose to host for certain. Navy lose, North Texas lose, and Tulane. If 2 of the 3 lose, then ECU is definitely at least in the conference championship. If all 3 lose, ECU would host for sure. If it's ECU Navy, ECU could potentially host Navy, even with the same record. But there's a bunch of mess I won't bore people with. All right, Maceo, I used to
You
call.
already did that on Monday.
Yeah, I've already done that
day
this week, and everything I said ended up being irrelevant by the time the rankings came out. So typical.
Right.
Maceo, I used to call you like Mr. Do-It-All. You know, you played running back, receiver, did a lot for this offense. I'm sorry, I got to pass that moniker to Mike Wright.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, what in the world, man? This dude trots out here, punts the football, intercepts the ball. Like, I mean, the interception, like, I'm impressed with it, obviously, because he's a backup quarterback and does all that. But, like, to punt the football in a live game, I mean, what are we seeing out here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I saw him line back up there for that first punt. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Is this like a fake? And he kicked it, and I was like, wow. I was like, he really can do anything. But I just think Coach Harrell says it all the time. It's just like Mike Wright is such a good guy. They love him on the team. It's just like those guys, you just have to figure out a way to get on the field. And obviously, the athlete he can pretty much do everything, which helps. But, I mean, it's just crazy. I don't think I've ever, seen anything other. I wish he could get more reps at all of it just to like see how far he could go with it, But I've talked to him a couple times. He just seems like a good dude, can do it all. I mean, he's an athlete. I just want to know what he can do if you give him a whole like possession at receiver or a few possessions at corner just to see what happens. But it was just crazy to see. I think he's thrown a pass, right? Thrown a pass, caught a pass, got handed the ball off, kick return, interceptions, punt. Like, he's done everything.
All he has to do left is, I think, snap the football, play some O-line, maybe get a pressure in at the end, maybe kick an extra point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it. But
Hey, he got the pressure at corner. They sent him on a corner blitz.
Yeah. I mean, the dude is unreal in the process of writing a story about that. And the other thing about it, Maceo, too, is like, look, you've been involved in a lot of special teams game planning. I mean, if I'm UTSA, I am terrified of the possibilities of Mike Wright at punter. Like, how much time do you think they got to spend on preparing for all the potential options there?
You definitely have to prepare for it, but it's just like he's known now. It's not just like a random guy, or I forgot what team it was last year that changed their backup quarterback's number that week to like the punter's number to trick the team. I don't know what college team that was who did that a week or so ago.
I think it was USC.
So like guys are like definitely aware of who Mike Wright is now, and I even saw like even just today him getting some more like national news, just maybe some podcasts or something. They're like this Mike Wright guy out of ECU that's done every single thing on the football field. So guys are super aware of it. They're going to know the situations, the downer distance where Coach Harrell might would, roll the dice with it. But it's just fun to see what he does next, man. I just want to see what all he can do. I'm waiting for him to throw one.
I know. I mean, like, he's the actual Division I quarterback back there who could throw it at any time at punters. It's crazy. All right, we are visiting with Maceo Donald. A few more things for him. We'll get him out of here. Okay, Maceo, the game at UTSA, this is, for me, like, I kind of prefer having a big opponent after a big win. I know you could have the hangover effect, but, like, if I'm Blake Harrell, I'm just saying as much as possible this week. They're 24-0 at home in conference play under Jeff Traylor, their head coach, which is insane in conference games. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm a player, that gets my attention right away. The Tulane tape gets my attention right away. So what do you think about this game this Saturday?
Yeah, definitely got to let this past one just go away. At this point, it's a few days before the game, so now you shouldn't even be thinking about, the past. Us media guys are still thinking about the past game, but they should be pretty much done with it, by any means necessary. So I think it's still a great opportunity to go up there and play. It's going to be a nice environment to play in the Alamo Dome. And I think this is kind of where you figure out what your team is. Do you go out and lay an egg? Do you start slow? Or do you come out still focused in that same intensity that you came out with, in the Memphis game? And I think they still have that chance and that opportunity. These guys have pretty much been rolling the past month or so. So I would be very surprised if they didn't come out on point, loose and on point.
All right, final thing. We talked about it earlier, the championship scenarios. Obviously, we know ECU's got to win at UTSA to make any of this relevant, but we've got Tulane 8-2 at Temple 5-5. Tulane's an 8-point favorite. That's a 3:45 kickoff in Philly. And North Texas is a 17-point favorite at 5-5. Rice 7:30.
Yeah.
ECU needs one of those teams to lose, ideally both. But if you had to pick one, who has a better shot at upset, Temple over Tulane or Rice over North Texas?
I would say Rice over North Texas. I just don't believe in Tulane. Not Tulane, Temple at all. Do you say Temple, right?
Yeah, Temple's playing Tulane at home.
Yeah, I don't believe in Temple at all. But didn't Rice upset someone earlier this year?
So Rice this year, they've beaten UConn, which is UConn's 8-3. They did lose at UTSA. They've lost to Navy in a close game. Yeah, the one thing I will say about Rice is they run a version of the option, so maybe they can control the clock. Those option games are always weird.
Right. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. We're gonna need like a true miracle or just something funky to happen. But I mean, you're absolutely right. We got to take care of business on our end first. Can't even worry about it, which sucks. You just wish you would have handled business earlier, so we don't put it in anybody else's hands besides ours. But just crossing our fingers, man. Seriously.
Anything can happen in college football. We did see UAB beat Memphis a few weeks ago, so maybe that it'll all align. But yeah, we'll see how the Pirates play at UTSA. Maceo Donald, we appreciate the time as always, man. Always fun to catch up with you, and we'll do it again next week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Maceo Donald with us on Hoist the Colors. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We will have more on Hoist the Colors after this.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Remember, get the podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Steve and Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Thursday. It's November 20th, 2 days out from ECU at UTSA, a big conference game in the American. Let's get an inside look at the Roadrunners now. We'll visit with Greg Luca, who covers the Roadrunners for the San Antonio Express News. Greg, first off, welcome to the show. Secondly, a lot of the talk around here is the big home conference winning streak UTSA has in the Alamo Dome. So what's the secret sauce out there in San Antonio for the Roadrunners in that building?
Hey, Steven, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I don't know. That's the question we've been asking again and again, is how they've managed to go 24-0 in these home conference games under Jeff Traylor and to look like a completely different team. And, this matchup fits the formula that we've seen last year. With Memphis came in here as a couple-point favorite, and UTSA pulled off an upset. And then a few weeks ago, it was Tulane who came in here favored by a few points, and UTSA pulled off the upset. And it just seems like whether they're more comfortable sort of operating their offense on the turf in the indoor environment, or whether it's just the energy that they get from the Alamo Dome crowd. It does get pretty loud in here. I know maybe you guys are used to some pretty big crowds over there, and here they might sit in like the mid-20s, I would expect, for this game. But in that environment where it's enclosed and the sound just kind of reverberates, it becomes pretty difficult for opposing offenses to operate, maybe more than they're expecting when they first step in there. So for one reason or another, it's always continued to add up that they've had a lot of success in these games here.
Yeah, and a big part of that, you kind of hit on it, but to me, just watching UTSA since they've gotten to the conference, it's clearly the team looks more comfortable, but I do think it's the offense. Like, I don't know, Owen McCown especially seems super comfortable, like almost always in rhythm in the Dome. I'm looking at the stats, no picks at home this year. So does it feel like a lot of it kind of starts and ends with him when he's in a rhythm with this offense?
Yeah, I think rhythm is a good way to describe it because they really do like to work this short passing game. We've been talking all season about how rarely, especially compared to last year, that they're even attempting passes more than 20 yards in the air downfield. And they hit one of those against Charlotte, but even in a productive game like that, he didn't have to do it too often. And some of his best games of the year have been just kind of dink and dunk and pick up 5 or 6 yard chunks. And I think when you have that sort of indoor environment in a place where they're comfortable, it's sort of easier for them to stay on rhythm and just keep hitting these quick passes. So you'll see, whether it's the RPO game where they like to throw a lot of different slants and screen passes, or even just some of these kind of short stick routes where a guy's finding a hole in the zone just, 7 to 10 yards down the field. They really like to continue to work that quick passing game as much as possible. And if you're comfortable and you get in that rhythm and there's not wind and there's not an opposing crowd that's getting you into a false start where you're out of your down and distance that you're comfortable with and things like that, if they're able to just kind of keep it on schedule the way they have been when they're indoors in a place where they know they can have some success, it just allows them to kind of keep rolling.
A guy who has stuck out to me with this offense, Greg, is Will Henderson. Like, just watching his speed on tape, especially in that Tulane game, and I think I watched a couple of their other games, he looks like a guy who can fly. Kind of reminds me of Keaton Mitchell, who used to play at ECU. What type of impact has he made as a younger back on this offense?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm glad you brought him up. He's the guy who signed here pretty late a couple of years ago just because he wanted to go win a state track championship before he made his commitment, and that's what he did. And so he actually still runs on the track team here, and he's probably the fastest guy on the team. So you're 100% right that speed is what makes him so effective. And we sort of thought that you're getting like a third down back or a guy who's going to maybe break one or two big plays or be used in different gadgets or things like that. But he's run a lot more physical and looks even more comfortable and kind of blitz pickup and pass protection than you would have thought for a guy with his frames and like around 180 pounds. So especially the way last week played out, Robert Henry had at least 140 yards and multiple touchdowns in the first 4 games of the season and was one of the leading rushers in the FBS through that time. He's broken off 5 runs that covered 70 or more yards this season. But Henry last week against Charlotte, he had a play where he basically just kept backtracking and he ended up losing 25 yards on a run, which you don't see every day. And he ended up getting benched essentially in the second half. I know there was a little bit of an injury situation, but it really seemed like they just decided to go to Henderson. So what that split looks like this week will be pretty fascinating. I know Jeff Traylor told us on Monday that Robert Henry is still the starting running back, and he's earned that because of everything he's done this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another heavy workload for Will Henderson just because he's proven that he's kind of ready to take that on even at this early stage of his career.
Visit with Greg Luca, covers UTSA in San Antonio. And you mentioned the short passing game. Who are some of the targets McCown likes to get the ball to, especially in space, to kind of take advantage of the defense?
Yeah, Devin McEwen's probably the number one guy you're going to see. He's just a really well-rounded receiver, runs good routes, has some solid speed, just consistently finds ways to get open. And him and Owen are from the same part of the state. They kind of grew up together, so they've got a lot of pretty strong chemistry, and so they're usually on the same page. AJ Wilson is coming off his most productive game of the year. He's been kind of the deep threat insofar as they've had one. He's transferred in from Houston Christian at the FCS level and has made an immediate impact on the offense. But the real guy I think you're going to want to keep an eye on is David Amador, who is kind of like a slot receiver, but the reason he's most interesting is because he gets involved in all these different kind of trick plays and gadgets that UTSA likes to run. He's thrown a touchdown pass this season, and I'm sure there will be at least one or two times in this game where you see them swing it out to him, and he's looking downfield to potentially throw. So he's a guy that if they're going to do something kind of interesting or out of the box on offense, it usually runs through him. So that's one to keep a close eye on.
For me, with this matchup, ECU's defense, has played at a pretty high level this year. Obviously, UTSA's offense really get home. Like we were talking earlier, I feel like the key is, can ECU find a way to get pressure? Like their defensive front pretty good. UTSA's offense at times has allowed some pressure. Now, part of that negated by the quick passing game. But how much of an eye are you going to keep on that matchup, and how do you think maybe that stacks up going into Saturday?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think UTSA's offensive line, especially early in the season, played at a lot higher level than what we were expecting coming in because there was a decent amount of familiar faces, one or two new guys, but that group was kind of just solid but unspectacular last year. And through the start of this season, they were playing at a pretty high level, and that's why it was surprising that the offense overall wasn't clicking at the rate that this team kind of expected it to. But as the season's going on, it seemed like Tamar Missouri, the left tackle, has not necessarily played up to the standard that he set for himself last year, and they had an injury at right tackle, so they have a younger player, DeAndre Marshall, kind of stepping in there in the last few weeks. And so we saw, especially against USF, which, that roster is kind of a different animal from a lot of teams in this league, but their edge rushers had a ton of success, and I think if ECU has some talented guys who stand out in that regard, I would expect that they might really get some edge pressure up the middle. UTSA has been a little bit more solid.
All right, defensively, what can we expect from UTSA on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting season for that group because there are times where they look much stronger than expected. They came in having to replace all 11 starters from last year, so we were kind of unsure what we were going to get. And Chad Banks at middle linebacker has been kind of a revelation for this team, not just leading the team in tackles, but also being part of a guy who's creating some interceptions, forcing some fumbles kind of around these big plays. So it all runs through him. But they've had games like against Charlotte, which obviously is a team at the bottom of the league, but even against Tulane, where it seems like they are just kind of flying around and making plays where they need to and just sort of shutting down the opposing offense. And then there's games like South Florida and North Texas where it feels like they just can't tackle whatsoever, and guys are sort of running all over them. So I don't know exactly how East Carolina's skill players shake out, but it seems like UTSA has had more problems trying to wrangle maybe some bigger guys, some more physical rushers, whether it's even like a quarterback in Byron Brown's case or the running back Hawkins from North Texas. And I'm sure if there's a physical receiver or a tight end, we saw even against Temple, their tight end had a pretty big game. So if there are some bigger, more physical options that ECU can get the ball to in the run game or in the pass game, that's usually where UTSA has had some struggles.
All right, we're visiting with Greg Luca. A few more things with him from the San Antonio Express News. We'll get him out of here. All right, so I like watching, some of the charismatic coaches in the conference, their press conferences, and obviously I've watched Jeff Traylor the last few years. I always hear your voice on there along with JJ, who we've had on the show as well. And I noticed going into the USF game, he was talking about the talent difference, the NIL difference. How much of a story has that become locally? Like, I don't know, are fans at all getting, tired of hearing that, or is it a valid excuse? Kind of what's the balance there?
Yeah, I think the fans certainly are getting tired of hearing it. And it's interesting because Jeff hit that note quite a bit when he was succeeding here, when they were winning Conference USA championships a couple of years ago, because he just understood what it takes for the program to be sustainable and successful long term. Now it's a little bit harder of a message to deliver when your team is disappointing. It sounds like you're kind of making excuses. And so he picked right after to start talking about it, and obviously that worked out well because it led into the matchup with South Florida, where obviously I think it's sort of understood that their resources are a step above most of the league. So I would say there's probably some merit to it, but also that fans are tired of hearing about it. So it's sort of both. I mean, it sounds like UTSA is sort of in the middle of the pack or maybe lower half, but it's all speculative in terms of really what each program is able to put together in that sense. It's not like any of these numbers are public knowledge. So, it always makes sense for a coach to be trying to drive and push the program to get more. There's been times in the past where him talking about it led somebody to step up and say, hey, I didn't realize, this was such a dire need for you guys. Here's I mean, there was a donor who committed $1 million back-to-back years that they put towards different operational stuff before the NIL. The whole NIL wave took off and sort of changed the way that revenue sharing and all of that works. So I understand why he wants to be vocal about it, but certainly there's a level of the fans saying, you've proven you can win here with what you had before, and even if you aren't stacking up, whatever happened to being able to do more with less, and it doesn't help his case that his salary shakes out pretty well relative to the rest of the league too, so that he loses some sympathy there.
Do you feel like, Greg, at this point that he's going to get maybe some bigger investment at season end for next year, like in terms of the rev share, or is that – I'm sure that's a goal of his. Do you think that's a realistic possibility? Obviously, San Antonio, a pretty big market.
Well, I think they have to step up just to meet the league's demand of $10 million over 3 years that they've sort of set across the board. I don't think that they're on track to do that, at least just from the football side. Now, if you start lumping in the extra scholarships they've submitted to other sports, maybe they get there some other way. But I do think there needs to be a greater commitment from the university because, as big of a market as San Antonio is, there's always – this is like I could do 20 minutes on this if you wanted. It's been such a long story here with trying to get different pro sports teams here, and the reason this is only a Spurs market and not a market where other pro teams have been able to find a home. But the business space and there's not as many Fortune 500 companies, and so there isn't such a huge case of those being able to contribute. And San Antonio is a big city, but the surrounding metro area is not super enormous on the scale of the whole country and some of the other larger metro areas. And even just if you look at UTSA's alumni base, first of all, it's young, it's a younger university, and there's not necessarily that level of wealthy donors, but there's also a really high rate of need-based scholarships that are awarded relative to other FBS schools just because it hasn't always been the most wealthy community and the most wealthy alumni base. So there's just not necessarily the foundation there for them to draw from the way they would want to. So it's really going to have to come internally from the university. They've been able to make some of the development downtown campus and all these things. Like I said, it's such a layered issue that you could go into, but I think they're going to have to hope that the university steps up. I don't know if externally they're going to be able to generate that any better than they already have.
It is a tough business, college athletics right now. Everybody looking for a way to spend more money. A lot of that sounds familiar with East Carolina's challenges. Final thing for Greg Luca from the San Antonio Express News, covers UTSA. It feels like this should be a pretty evenly matched game. You got UTSA playing, obviously, for another bowl appearance under Traylor, which would be the 6th consecutive year. ECU trying to stay alive for a conference championship. For you, what's the biggest X factor of this game? You can go player, positional matchup. What will you be watching most Saturday in terms of how this game plays out?
Yeah, I think it's really just going to come down to the overall. I think we'll know pretty early just based on UTSA's overall just energy level and how they come out of the gate. Just it all for me, it comes down to that sort of home field magic. I don't know if there's the X's and O's part of it that they're going to have any advantages relative to East Carolina, who has been really solid across the board, and there's been no seemingly area where you can exploit them. But if UTSA is just able to play their very best game, and I guess to be more specific, that would probably start with Owen McCown at the quarterback position, which is pretty obvious. Most football games can be traced there, but I think this is another case where he needs to play his very best game, and then everybody else needs to have that level of energy that they've been able to tap into in the home crowd. And if they don't have that, we'll know pretty early. I would think you'll be able to tell in the first quarter whether they're going to be able to have that kind of a performance in them.
He is Greg Luca from the San Antonio Express News. Greg, we appreciate the time, man. We'll see you out there in San Antonio on Saturday. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Greg Luca, great insight on the Roadrunners and UTSA situation. Looking forward to Saturday's game. 3:30 Eastern kickoff, 2:30 Central in San Antonio. We'll get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show after this.
Hurry to Greenville Toyota for model year-end savings on a Camry. Just $229 a month. $229 a month. Or new RAV4, $279 a month. $279 a month. Only during our model year-end move-out. Right now at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
It's Greenville Toyota's model year-end move-out. Save on a new Corolla, just $149 a month. $149 a month. Or new Tacoma, $249 a month. $249 a month. Now get on, move on, and save.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back in. Final few minutes here of the show. Philip Pilkington producing. Appreciate Greg Luca. Great insight on UTSA coming on the program in our last segment. A couple comments here before we get out of here. Lane wants to know about a scenario that could play out. We'll get into that in a minute. Good question. And we have Robert who said, if ECU goes up early on UTSA, I believe they will start to feel the pressure of keeping their home record alive and becoming bowl eligible. That kind of goes back to Greg's point. We'll know early. I said earlier, if I was ECU, I would blitz McCown early. You know, ECU hit him around last year, and he did not look comfortable afterwards. Now, obviously, you could give him a big play early, and I think there's risk to that too, but I almost would try to come after him early, see how he reacts. Jonathan says, we are worried about losing on the road to UTSA, who is 24-0 in conference. However, UTSA just won its first road game in 2 years. With the tides turning in UTSA, they will finally lose at home to ECU. That's a positive outlook.
It's a positive outlook, but they beat Charlotte, so I don't know if that really counts.
Yeah. Corsair says, will a 4-hour flight from Greenville to San Antonio impact the Pirates? Is it really 4 hours?
Probably not straight if you got layovers and stuff, but I'm sure they're chartering.
Yeah, they're chartering. I would assume closer to 3, maybe even 2.5.
It only takes 3.5 to get from here to Denver.
Greenville to San Antonio flight time. Let's see if Google spits out anything.
What was the thing we were supposed to get to in the
2 hours
final?
and 26 minutes.
2 hours, okay. Yeah, that sounds more like it.
Yeah.
What was the thing? Oh, the bowl tie-ins was what was asked about. We said we were going to get to the last segment.
Yeah. So we had a question about bowl tie-ins and tiebreaker scenarios. Lane also wants to know if ECU, Navy, and North Texas went out, would ECU get in? So that is dependent upon, good question, North Texas in that scenario would most likely be in. This would come down to computer rankings because you'd have a 3-team tie. Tulane would be out because they would lose to Temple, I guess, in this scenario. And it would come down to computer rankings. North Texas by far at the top. ECU is ahead of Navy right now in the computer rankings by a pretty good margin. I would think ECU would be in unless they just play bad against UTSA and FAU and still win. And then Navy crushes Memphis. They could jump in the computer rankings, if that makes sense. But right now the computer rankings average is North Texas definitely in, ECU followed somewhat closely by Navy, if that makes sense. So there's your answer to that. Lane. Other tiebreaker scenarios, with Tulane now being in the college football playoff, if they went out, they would be the first team to go. Then if it was a computer tiebreaker scenario between North Texas and ECU, that is one that is going to favor North Texas. So you definitely need one of North Texas or Tulane to lose, and ideally, just to erase any doubt, ideally Navy at Memphis is a Memphis win on Thanksgiving. So that's kind of your tiebreaker scenarios there. If it's a four-way tie, same type of deal. I mean, you could really get a four-way tie here, and it wouldn't shock me if that happens. So
I mean, every team is going to, other than Navy going to Memphis, the other three teams are going to be favored in both games. East Carolina, Tulane, North Texas are going to be favored.
American Bowl tie-ins. So we've gone over this a few times, but the bowl games for sure: Military Bowl, Armed Forces Bowl, Fenway Bowl, Hawaii Bowl, and then there's 4 selections from the following: Frisco Bowl, Boca Raton Bowl, Cure Bowl, which is in Orlando, Gasparilla Bowl, which is in Tampa, Myrtle Beach Bowl, First Responder Bowl in Dallas, New Mexico Bowl, and the Birmingham Bowl. So a lot of bowls. Yeah. And there's a shot they could trade some bowls as well.
There's a shot they can trade. One thing I want to do, because we've had people ask here, and I've had people come up to me in public, where do we think East Carolina is going to go? So a lot of it comes down to there is a pecking order with these bowls that get to go in and choose teams first. So the better bowls choose teams first. It's going to a lot come down to how everybody plays the rest of the way. If we finish 4th in the conference, we're going to have a lot different selection than if we finish 2nd in the conference because of those tiers. So I know that doesn't really answer the question, but the point is that's why we can't answer it.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers. There's potential trades and all that. So every game matters for championship purposes and for bowl purposes. We're out of time. We got to get out of here. We'll be back Friday, 12 noon with Bobby Harward. We'll be making our picks. We'll see you then.